Hello and welcome to the first trading day of December right here in Lagos, Nigeria. I hope November, hope that trading month was, good to you, but you need to watch the show to make December even better. All right, coming up on the show today, we see the 2025 Africa Investment Forum that concluded in Rabat, Morocco, with African Development Bank President Dr. Sidi Outar announcing investor commitments totaling $15.26 billion. According to Dr. Tar, these strong pledges signal, growing confidence in the continent's investment landscape and reflect progress in, closing the long-standing gap between capital and opportunity in Africa. Our business editor, John McQuarrie, was following developments at the forum, reports.
A busy 3 market days at the Africa Investment Forum. The representatives of development banks, of governments, of private institutions and private companies from different countries, both in Africa and outside Africa, sealed deals, had connections and conversations they couldn't have even before now. Meetings and interactions like this is how the forum has catalyzed $225 billion in investment since it started in 2018. However, with the continent still in need of about $170 billion annually to close the infrastructural gap, especially in energy sufficiency, there's the obvious need to unlock more capital and eliminate hurdles, perceived or real, that may deter investors.
We see that interest in renewable energy is strong, but the enabling environment often creates delays that become difficult to overcome. And these challenges are not theoretical. They are operational, financial, regulatory, and logistic.
Africa's under 2% investment in global renewable energy, despite holding 60% of the world's solar resources, among other potentials in wind and geothermal, points to the need to de-risk investments.
In the case of energy, and energy, accounts for almost 30% of MEGA's exposure in Africa, utilizing the key risks such as breach of contract, which is the offtake risk, we're backstopping offtake, as well as things like currency transfer restriction and convertibility risks.
In order to unlock the potential of the renewable energy, it is very important to have an appropriate funding system for the grid infrastructure. It is also very important to look at the local development.
The case of Nigeria's reform in the energy sector is also on the table.
And one of the constraints, obviously, is that Nigeria does not yet have a market-reflective tariff structure across board. Also, there are backlogs of opportunities, of obligations to the GENCOs. Now, we think that an institution like AFDB can play a critical role in addressing the constraints to raising that capital.
Nigeria gets attention again at the high-level panel on mobilizing domestic capital to drive Africa's growth.
We hold a large pool, over 2 trillion of pension insurance and assets under management. And we do have nascent and developing capital markets. And such an example presents the opportunity to really leverage domestic resources, reduce obviously dependency on volatility in exchange rate, but also importantly is actually strengthening local capacity.
The conversations may have given a level of respite to investors as the president of the African Development Group, Mr. Sidi Outar, announced at the closing ceremony. He highlights the evidence of these to include the achievement of 39 bankable projects at this year's market days, the commitment of $15.26 billion dedicated to projects spanning 19 countries. Africa does not lack capital. What it lacks is integration and coordination among countries on the continent. And another major need, according to those who participated, is that there's a need to build strong institutions to de-risk the capital, and that will encourage even more capital from the private sector. So as Africa Investment Forum plans for 2026, it is with anticipation that they will come back with greater and brighter stories after this meeting. I'm Ini John Mekwa, been reporting from here, Rabat, the capital of Morocco, for Channels Television News.
And that was Ini right there in Rabat, Morocco. But guess what? She's right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Make welcome Ini John Mekwa, all the way from Morocco. Red carpet. Welcome back. Show was great right there in Morocco.
Yeah, it was, and a lot of lessons to be learned, Laddie. I tell you, I got really challenged. You know, we say Nigeria is the giant of Africa. I'm sorry, but I think there are so many question marks to that. When you go to some of these, quote, smaller African countries and see what they're doing.
Did you tell me you drove for an hour and a half?
And yeah,
with
like,
no
so
pothole?
the airport is in Casablanca. So we were dropped at Casablanca and we had to do road to Rabat, about an hour and a half, and there was no single pothole.
Not one pothole?
Not one, Laddie. And then I drove for about 4 or 5 days within town. There's no pothole. And guess what? The traffic lights are working. There's nobody threatening anybody. Everybody sees the traffic lights on red and stops. Whether you are a bike, whether you are a taxi, whatever you are, when the light is red, you stop. When it's green, you move. When you get to a roundabout, you give the right of way. There's no policeman on the road to do all of that, Laddie. Right. And these guys are producing their cars with renewables. They have 2 brands of cars. They use it for their taxis. I entered the taxi a lot.
Made in Morocco cars.
Made in Morocco, Dancia or something like that. Made, not assembled in Morocco, but made in Morocco. And they are using it. Like, it's a big challenge to Nigeria.
I'm challenged.
And sometimes when you get out of, when you go to countries like that, you just get angry. Because in the midst of plenty, there was no single up NEPA.
Wow. Incredible. Shots fired. Thank you so much, Ini.
All right, Laddie, thank you for bringing me back. Good morning, everyone. Well, I wanted to say it's 55 minutes. I guess we have less than 55 minutes now. Laddie has taken some of this time. But let's do business. Starting from the global oil space, where prices rose as much as 1.5% on Monday after OPEC Plus members reaffirmed a plan to pause production increases in the first quarter of next year. And the prospect of U.S. action against oil producer Venezuela unsettled the market. So what that means is this morning we have green color, almost 1% up for Brent at $62.99. WTI, also the same percentage at $59.12 a barrel for both of them. So Brent futures later paired gains to sit up at 0.98%. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and their allies, that's OPEC Plus, they've said they are going to pause that push to regain market share. And then yesterday, they reaffirmed that at an important meeting, and that, of course, is a major driver of the prices. And then here in Nigeria, Dangote Petroleum Refinery, they've announced plans to supply 1,500,000,000 liters of premium motor spirits, that's PMS, and they want to do that monthly to the Nigerian market in December and January. It's a move, they say, that is aimed at ensuring uninterrupted nationwide fuel availability through the festive season and into the new year. President and Chief Executive of Dangote Industries Limited, Aliko Dangote, disclosed this at the weekend, noting that the refinery will make available 50 million liters of PMS daily beginning from today, December the 1st. He was speaking during a visit by the South-South Development Commission, that's the SSDC, to the refinery and the Dangote Fertilizer Complex. It states that the facility currently has adequate stock and is producing between 40 and 45 million liters of PMS daily. He added that the daily supply of 50 million liters should dispel long-standing claims that domestic refineries lack the capacity to meet national demand. Dangote also revealed ongoing engagements with petroleum marketers to strengthen distribution systems, including expanding the use of CNG-powered haulage. He further notes that the refinery is progressing with its expansion plan to reach a capacity of 1.4 million barrels per day. That's more than 100,000 workers are expected to be involved in that expansion of both the refinery and the fertilizer complex. Meanwhile, the managing director of SSDC, Usoro Fiong Akpabio, commended Dangote's leadership and his continued contribution to the strengthening of Nigeria's industrial capacity, national energy security, and long-term economic competitiveness. And now to a major development at this time, one of Nigeria's most significant corporate debt disputes. We have an update on that because in a reversal of the Courts of Appeal in Lagos, they've delivered a critical victory to the consortium of creditor banks, effectively reinstating the receivership and asset freeze against local oil and gas conglomerate Nestoil Limited. This judicial action comes barely a week after a federal high court ruling had temporarily allowed Nestoil to regain control of its operations and assets. The high-stakes legal war between a consortium of creditors led by FBN Quest Merchant Bank Limited and First Trustees Limited, as well as Nestoil Limited, which is its affiliate, Nikon Energy Limited, and their principal promoters, Dr. Ernest Azudialu OBJC and Mrs. Nina OBJC. The debt in question is a staggering amount of exceeding $1 billion and hundreds of billions of naira resulting from various credit facilities. The legal saga has been a rapid back and forth. The controversy ignited in October when the Federal High Court initially granted a sweeping Marva injunction that froze Nestoil's funds across multiple banks and placed the company under the control of a court-appointed receiver manager. However, in a significant procedural win for Nestoil, the High Court, under a new judge, Justice Daniel Siago, ruled on November 20th that the original injunction had lapsed by operation of law, having exceeded the statutory 14-day limit for ex parte orders after a motion challenging it was filed. This decision effectively lifted the asset freeze. But the lenders were not deterred. In a swift counter-move, FBN Quest and First Trustees filed an appeal, and documents confirmed that November 27, 2025, the Court of Appeal granted the application for an interim restorative injunction. This order from the appellate court reverses all steps the Nestoil and its representatives took after the Federal High Court's November 20 ruling. Critically, it returns the control of the company's assets and operations back to the receiver manager appointed by the banks. Furthermore, the Court of Appeal ordered a stay of all further proceedings at the Federal High Court, halting the case in the lower court. This means that for the time being, the receivership is back in force, the asset freeze remains in place, and the legal war is now firmly elevated to the Court of Appeal, where the next crucial hearing on the substantive motion on notice is scheduled. And let's see how the market did last week in closing. It closed in the negative. That's Nigeria's domestic market, down 0.14% for the all share. The market cap is at 91.286 trillion naira. Activity mostly green, but we have just one red there, talking about the deals at 102,351. Top gainers last week at the close of trade was Ikeja Hotel PLC, NCR Nigeria PLC, and UACN. Those were the top gainers, and the top losers, Mayor PLC, Sunu Assurance, and UPDC. They were on the red list. Top trades, Cornerstone Insurance, Guarantee Trust Holding Company Limited, and Access Holding PLC. They made up the top trades for last week. And now, are concerned about the threats of food insecurity in Nigeria. The Martin Food Bank Professionals Association of Nigeria, they've launched what they call a technology-driven program that's aimed at ending hunger and strengthening food security across the country with the rollout of its automated Martin Food Security Initiative. The national flag off, which attracted farmers and stakeholders from all 36 states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. It marks the unveiling of a comprehensive framework that's designed to transform food access, production and distribution nationwide. The three-day event was held at the National Institute of Sports in Lagos. The national president of Martin Group and chairman of its board of trustees, Olakunle Johnson, described the initiative as a spiritual project focused on rebuilding Nigeria's food systems from the grassroots. He said that AMC would deploy modern tools for production, tracking and distribution to deliver sustainable solutions to hunger. Martin says that the community kinship teams will drive data collection, operate food banks, and manage automated street-level feeding machines for both cooked and uncooked meals.
Everybody who is a Nigerian knows that there is hunger in the country. And the most important everybody needs in Nigeria now is food. You may have money, but you may not have food to buy. And even if you have, the quantity of food you buy is a problem. Talk about a family of 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatnot. But the critical thing is that when there is food, everything will be lesser. The major important factor of life are two things: food and housing. If one has a place he keeps his head, and he has food to eat, I think other various things are secondary. But you don't have 1 billion, you don't have mansion, you don't have a trillion, it's not a primary objective. Food, that is the most important, and that is what is the most critical thing we face in Nigeria. And I think Matan has come to salvage it.
All right, sir, from the southeast, what are the things that are in place to ensure Matan flies and how up?
Beautiful. I must thank you. My region, my zone in the southeast is a wonderful zone, as well as all zones in Nigeria. Matan has been structured down to the local government level, down to the ward level, to the community level, and it's in the whole local government of states. In the state of southeast, I take my state, for instance, Enugu State, where I come from. Matan is in all 17 local governments of Enugu State. In my own geopolitical world, there is Matan.
This program is not just today. We have been putting our plan together. Our plan led to the issue of tax bill that was in the Senate that Mr. President just signed recently. Because the app is part of our own achievement. We are the one that put the plan together. So we are the one that submitted the proposal. So before the Joint Task Board and Federal Inland Revenue Service key into it, the harmonization. After key into the harmonization, it was launched at Ikeja, at Radisson Blue. After the launching of VDI, VAT Direct Initiative, that is what, because we feel if we will not deal with the issue of multiple taxation first, to remove the bottleneck from the food security, we cannot be able to achieve this. So that is why we first of all fight for that, and we achieve it. Mr. President signed it to the law. So now that is why we go into the second phase. The second phase of the project is this automated Matan food security initiative, and we have put the platform in place, the digitalization platform. The digitalization platform is what will drive the process. It's not about talking without action. So because we are a grassroots person, so we know how to go about it, how to go about the operation, house to house, community to community. And you cannot do it, if you have to do it by yourself analogically, it's not going to work, because you are going to be looking faces, eyes of your own people. It's not like that.
All right, now, let's have this conversation on job and productivity and its findings by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. They recently released their job and productivity report. And guess what? They titled it From Hustle to Decent Work. So I have a lot of questions for them. I hope time will permit us to have that conversation. But their findings from that report for 2025 is that formal job creation has lagged, and informal employment remains high, still accounts for 90% of total employment in the country. Nigerians engage in low productivity activities such as subsistence farming, petty trading, And the POS, that's also being tagged as a low productive activity. There's the inability to scale up micro and small firms. Estimate shows that to maintain unemployment rate at 4.3% between 2025 to 2030, Nigeria must create at least 27.3 million jobs. And this creation of jobs should come from manufacturing, construction, information, communication, technology, and others. And to actualize this, NESG is asking that Nigeria works with a Nigeria Works framework. I wonder how that would look like, but we do have a senior economist from the Summit Group, Dr. Wilson Erumebo, joins us virtually. Dr. Erumebo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great. First, I'm just curious, why do you tag your report from hustle to decent work?
Well, one of the things we looked at is that we try to map the state of jobs in Nigeria. Basically, what are Nigerians doing, those that are in the workforce? What kind of activities are they doing? And whether or not those activities are productive enough to move the country forward. And so when we did that exercise, a lot of findings came out, some of which you've shared, on the screen earlier, that many Nigerians are working in low productive jobs. So for instance, one of the key data that we shared was that over 80% of Nigerians are in activities with very low productivity. And when you look at the formal, informal nature of jobs, the National Bureau of Statistics says about over 90% of our workers are in informal employment. So it basically just means that many Nigerians, not all, but many Nigerians are struggling to make ends meet. They just, basically are hustling and they just look for something to do. You can imagine a graduate who leaves the university or tertiary institution. What are the opportunities available for them? And we saw that the formal jobs is declining, like people going to the office, banking, telecoms, and the likes. Those jobs are not enough, to absorb these graduates. And so what then happens is everybody hustles, look for something to do, just to, be engaged. And we're saying what they do, and it's not their fault, right? And it's not like we're saying some of these jobs should be banned or no. I mean, you can't even ban those jobs in the first place. But what we're arguing is that there has to be the expansion and of the breadth and depth of the private sector. We need to create formal jobs just so we can absorb many of these graduates that are coming into the labor force. So that's part of why we looked at it and said, many of us are hustling, but we need to create decent jobs. And so that transition has to happen. So that informed the title of the report.
Yeah, and you said that the solution would be for a detailed Nigeria Works framework. What would that look like, a Nigeria Works framework? Yes,
basically what we're saying with that framework is that right now there's so many initiatives going on, within government, private sector, and in many cases it's even difficult to track some of these initiatives. Even within government agencies, so many skills-related work. The Ministry of Youth have the skills program, digital economy have theirs, education have theirs. And you just see like a lot of things are happening, in a way, sometimes it's difficult to even manage, it's difficult to ensure there's that collaboration. So I'm talking here about collaboration within government initiatives, that's one. And then collaboration between government, so the federal government and the private sector. And there's also collaboration between the federal government, the state government, and the private sector. So we thought we can't just continue like this. Otherwise, we would just keep moving in circles. So why don't we think of a way of harmonizing and bringing together all of these, issues? And so there's something we're arguing for, we're calling for, that Nigeria needs to have a jobs and productivity agenda, something that pulls up all of these initiatives together. And so that Nigeria Works framework is sort of like a blueprint that says, look, there's 6 pillars to it. I don't know if I can mention all of them, but one of them is that we need to expand our sectors of growth. So what we call the sectoral engines of growth. You mentioned earlier about 4 sectors that we think are very important that will create the kind of jobs that we need. Manufacturing is there, ICT is there, construction is there, and professional services. So that's one. There's also the argument that productivity has to be core in whatever we do. We need to measure it. We need to track it. It's not enough for us to, say that we're doing XYZ initiatives. We need to be sure that how are those initiatives impacting on productivity, both from a sectoral level and a broad level. There's also an important aspect of this Nigeria Works framework, which is our informal economy. And many oftentimes, when government talks about the informal sector, what you find is that it's almost about formalization. Let's bring them into the tax net. Let's ensure that they can pay more taxes and pay taxes and all of that. But what we're arguing this time is that whilst that is good, we're saying, look, it's not just about what the businesses would give to the government. This time it's also about what the government gives to these businesses. So we're saying you need to upgrade that informal sector, not just only look at them as a revenue collection point. You need better markets for them. You need better finance for them. You need skills development for them, and you need to support these businesses to be able to grow and scale, because that's where the jobs will come from, if they're able to grow, scale, and then formalize over time. So all of these are elements of the Nigeria Works framework that we put together.
All right. Well, it sounds very elaborate and all, but I mean, in Nigeria, it's always been taking it away from the talks to the works, and we hope that perhaps you get listening ear and working hands to get this done. Thank you so much, Senior Economist at NESG, Dr. Wilson Erumebo, for your time and sharing your reports with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's shift a bit to the healthcare, where healthcare professionals, industry leaders, policymakers, and tech innovators, they gathered recently in Lagos to chart a new direction for Africa's healthcare ecosystem as technology evolves across the global economy. And this is ahead of Africa Health Tech Conference, which is centered around the theme Partnerships, Technology, and the Future of Healthcare in Africa. The organizers believe that a digital platform that helps hospitals, clinics, and pharmacies access genuine, high-quality medicines and medical supplies has become a necessity, and the conference aims to highlight policy direction, reforms, and innovative ways to collaborate and drive transformational growth in the healthcare sector in Africa. There's also emphasis on 2 critical pillars for the sector's evolution, and that's digital first approach and the necessity of self-care.
This supply chain problem, predicting who will walk into your front door, is one of the most profound issues with inefficiency in creating smart supply chains. It is one of those issues that continue to plague our industries and our business as we create systems. In fact, did you know that if you belong to a disease group of less than 10 million people, you are on your own because of this particular problem? Healthcare entrepreneurs are scared to invest in disease groups that are not at least 80 million people. This sad reality is the reality of our supply chain space.
Healthcare providers are not well knowledgeable about their roles in safety monitoring. Patients are not aware of their responsibilities to their health, to be able to monitor whatever medications they are given to, and to report adequately. Remember, in Nigeria and everywhere in Africa globally, anything that is not documented has not happened. And we know that a majority of medicines that we use and even vaccines that we use in country are mostly imported. A lot of clinical trials have not been done within our own population for us to be able to say for certain, this is what we expect from every use of medicines. So it becomes very critical that at every point of medical assistance received, patients, healthcare providers, everybody, every one of us, we are all responsible must take that measures to ensure that the medicines we take are safe.
I guess one of the factors of being healthy is also, well, smelling good, if I can use the word smell before that brings that another controversy. So now, let's discuss perfumes, and specifically for this morning, we're looking at Haramain Perfumes. It's a luxury fragrance house founded in 1970 in Saudi Arabia, celebrated for blending traditional Arabian perfumery with modern sophistication, and it has presence all over over 100 countries, and they are now expanding to West Africa. So they want to tell us what they have to share with us here in West Africa. We have the head of e-commerce and sales development for Africa at Haramain Perfumes, Mr. Robert Marere, right here in the studio. Mr. Marere, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Good to have you. So you're expanding. It's always good business to smell good.
That's right.
So you don't just look good and and give frustrating experience to people who are around you. I guess that's why you're bringing this perfume to West Africa.
In fact, we have been in West Africa, particularly Nigeria, for a long time. And in our organization, we see perfumes as being, forgive me for being poetic, the soundtrack of the soul. So I'm sure if we've got a specific perfume that you have tried that brings back specific memories and that you put on for special occasions like going out to dinner, going out, even just working out, the specific fragrance that suits your needs. And at Haramain, we are now determined to showcase our entire range throughout the Western African market.
So what are you bringing? I see you came with some of your products.
This is the legendary Haramain Amber Oud Gold Edition. In 2013, we shipped about 1.5 million of these, and last year we know preliminary figures putting it around 3 million. This is a unisex fragrance, long-lasting, absolutely amazing, goes well with any situation. Why don't you give it a try?
Okay, you do it. 24 hours?
More than 24 hours.
Okay.
Remember, these fragrances are made for the dry, humid, the dry, hot weather of the Middle East. Whereas Nigeria, it's a warm, humid. Therefore, they actually last much, much longer. So with this one, we've been seeing great results since, and we believe that it's going to get even much bigger with our expansion into Nigeria and the neighboring countries.
Okay, so do you choose what products you want to bring to West Africa? Do you have factors that you consider to choose the products you want to sell to West Africans?
Yes, in fact we do. One of the biggest things that we've seen is in Dubai, as you know, Dubai is this melting point of all nationalities. So whenever a customer comes to one of our showrooms, of which we have over 30 in the UAE alone, we note down their phone numbers, their nationality, and then we see what they buy, what they show interest in. So if we see like they like, for example, heavy woody fragrances, we make a note of that. And then we start to export that to our distributors in Nigeria in small amounts to see the popularity. Once it picks up, once it gathers momentum, then we increase the shipments.
So how important is the Nigerian market to you?
Oh, it's vital. It's literally vital. In my view, and I think you will agree, Nigeria is a gateway to West Africa. I mean, it's the youngest, it's the fastest growing economy in Africa by far. You've got a very vibrant young economy of tech-savvy individuals who want the best in the world. And as much we offer them the best with our products. We believe by entering into Nigeria, we are now entering closer into West Africa and making an impact into West Africa.
And then you have the Sheikh Prestige Travel Pack. Tell us about that.
The Sheikh Prestige Travel Pack was launched on the 28th of October in Dubai.
So that's still relatively
new. It's literally brand new. These are some of the first pieces available. This is a unisex travel kit. Basically, there's a much bigger set that we have, but this is aimed for travel retail, for duty-free stores and everything. This is what we call an extracted perfume, meaning that it has a much longer, much more longer-lasting fragrance, more oil content, more alcohol content. Therefore, the projection of it is above. I mean, let me just show you roughly how it works. It's just a well-defined, well-manufactured project. This element is the main factor of this whole kit. So basically, we just remove the top, we screw off the bottom, and then you might choose, like today's Monday, I want something, something unique.
So you give a day of the week to...
So you can just take one, pop it off, remove the lid, pop it back in, go down here, let's screw it up, and then you've got your fragrance. And for the ladies, I'm sure, pop it in your bag. It's much better than the whole set. And then when Tuesday, Wednesday comes, you can choose which one that you want, or depending on you. So for the travel retail, it is a fantastic gift. It's not yet fully launched, but we believe we've been getting good results from the market about it.
And you are in e-commerce. So
Yes,
is this coming through e-commerce? Is it physical stores? How does it go?
It's coming through both. We believe, I personally believe, but we also come to the belief that online sales, e-commerce, is the future of retail, whether we like it or not. So we are seeing the growth of e-commerce, especially in Haramain. We are growing at a 20% month-on-month rate, including our sales and everything. So we are seeing more people are focusing more on e-commerce, especially on platforms like Amazon.com. We've been seeing great growth there and great opportunities. And we've been speaking to some people at Jumia regarding our products, and we believe good things are coming.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you about the logistics of, because even if when you're doing e-commerce, you still have to do the physical transportation, and you have logistics and sustaining or keeping that authenticity. You're ensuring that quality is still, there when it goes from you to your customers.
I'm glad you brought up the issue of quality and authenticity. I'm sure if you look at the back here, you see this tag.
Yeah, I think the camera should do it better.
There's this specific tag here. So from Haramain, we've started this situation that I think we started this in October, we started seeing there are a lot of fake products. And these have got the potential of causing the harm to our customer base. So we're now launching and relabeling all of our products with an anti-counterfeit tag, meaning you can buy the product, go online, scan the tag, and automatically it'll be verified through our database. And in terms of logistics through e-commerce, in any shape, form, whatever, e-commerce is always three elements. It's always the product, what you're selling, then there's logistics, how you're getting it from you to the customer, and then there's payment processing, and then there's like 1% marketing. So in terms of logistics, most of our goods are already here in Nigeria through our distributors. Literally, we're just ready to jump on board and to continue the delivery. In terms of quality, I've already shown you one of the steps that we are taking to ensure the quality is at top notch. In terms of authenticity, we are determined to ensure that the best quality possible of our products is done, which is why every single product from Haramain is registered through the UAE government for standardization and for quality control. This means it is deemed safe for human use.
And I guess this would be one of your boasting points when you look at competition.
It is. It's actually an industry-wide problem that we are facing, the issue of counterfeit dangerous products that are made with sub-quality ingredients, using shoddy materials, which in the long term affects our customer base. Because if you're to buy the same product at half the price from somebody that's not associated with us, and then you get a rash, it won't be you blaming the seller, you blame Haramain. So from our side, we are determined to stamp that out. In terms of what we can boast at Haramain, we are in fact we are the biggest perfume manufacturing brand in the UAE. We were the first perfume brand in the UAE to be given permission to use PayPal for our online platform. We were the first perfume brand in the UAE to do dangerous goods shipping so that we can ship our fragrances anywhere in the world under EASA regulations without any problems. For the past 8 years, we have shipped close to around 4,000 shipments globally, ranging from as little as 1 kg to, I think last week we shipped about 200 kilograms of flammable perfumes without any incidents warnings. Everything is done above book and perfectly safely.
And I guess you do this in collaboration with local distributors.
Yes, ma'am. We do have several local distributors here, and we appreciate their presence with us because they give us that local touch that's more in touch with the zeitgeist. So they're able to then market our goods on a much more local level. Basically, we are a global brand, but in this case, we have to think local. And through our distributors, that's how we are doing it properly.
So, you know, I know that, I mean, since this is coming from the UAE, you have a lot of Arabian culture. But, you know, you need to blend that if you want to expand your market. Blend it with maybe some other culture or something modern so you can have more market. Some people may not be so in tune with the heavy Arabian culture or, you know, the perfume.
Yes, I entirely agree. I mean, this might not be everyone's cup of tea. We do have some fragrances that are what you call French perfumes. Like they are extremely sweet, extremely appealing, and those are for a specific market or specific tastes. Then we do have some products that are not even sprays. They were perfume oils. These are associated with those who might have shortcomings about the alcohol content that we use in the sprays. So you've got those. And we do have what's called bako, which is the traditional burning of incense. We have those. So whilst we're a Middle East brand, we do have a global understanding of what the market requires.
Any plans for exclusive Africa, Nigeria?
I can't really go into detail about that, but I can say...
Oh, you don't want to give out trade secrets, I guess?
There are plans in the long term to become much more grounded on the Nigerian market. There are plans in the long term to establish a much more, let's say, permanent station in Nigeria. Yes, ma'am.
All right, and do we know your target market, be it in Nigeria or other parts of the continent?
Our target market is basically anyone. That's the thing. Perfumes, they appeal to everyone. That's why I even like something that smells nice. That's why I'm sure even when you were young, when your mother would be cooking, you'd go in the kitchen
You're drawn
for
to the kitchen, yeah.
fragrance, for the smell of cooking. So perfumes cater for everyone. At our Haramain, we've got perfumes that start from as low as $2. These are body sprays in cans, to as expensive as, let's say, $1,000, because they are like highly refined dinner oud fragrances. So we cater for all needs. We cater for those who say, I want a perfume that's suitable for night use, no problem. I want a perfume that's in a gift set. We have got you there. I want something that is there with me the whole time. I'm sure you'll be smelling that all day long.
I know, right?
And I want something that, you know, I can use on the go. As you saw, we are all more than happy to assist.
And it's the festive season. It's time for gifts and all that, I guess.
Yes, it is. We actually get most of our sales in, let's say, in Africa. Most of our sales come around this period, from around mid-November to December.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for bringing your products to Africa, Nigeria specifically, and of course we're looking forward to that very specific and special Nigerian touch.
Well, when it happens, you'll be the first and I'll let you know.
Thank you. I'll be looking forward to that. The head of e-commerce and sales development at Al Haramain Perfumes, Mr. Robert Morare. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a wonderful day, and thank you again.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, we've seen budget for 2026 spending plans and all, but how well have we done in 2025 and a whole lot more. That's part of the conversation we have for you after the break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. It's still Business Morning right here on Channels Television. We head to Southeast Anambra State now, where Governor Chukwuma Soludo had last week presented his spending plan for 2026, and it's tagged Changing Gears 3.0. It says solution continues. That's the governor. The budget is valued at 757 billion naira for 2026. He presented it to the State's House of Assembly last week. We see that the budget is made up of 595.3 billion naira for capital expenditure. That's about 79%. One would say that's a pleasant position to see more going for capital, while 21% is going for recurrent expenditure. The deficit, however, stands at about 225.7 billion of that, and it's expected to be financed through hybrid funding options, public-private partnership, improve internally generated revenue, concessions, and support from financial institutions. We have joining us to discuss this morning the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning from the state, Ms. Chamaka Nake. Ms. Nake, good morning. Welcome to the program. I am happy to see 79% allocated to capital budget, capital spending for next year. I mean, that would be good for business, good for the business environment. But I guess we should start from the success for this year. The governor said that over 60% budget performance is what has been recorded in 2025. But one would say, where can we find the evidence of this? Is this just a number being shared with us?
Okay, good morning. Corey, thank you for having me. So far in the year, and this is as at October, the government, Anambra State government has recorded budget performance of 61%, approximately 60 point something, so rounded up to 61%. And I will say that to my own assessment, this is quite impressive because this is as at October. If you had checked our budgets historically, we're quite heavy on capital projects. And where we are now is just showing an understanding that if you understand the infrastructure cycle, towards the end of the year is where the work happens, right? Where we speed up operations. And where we are now is how do we speed up things? How do we speed up operations to be able to kind of, maybe the most part of, we've actually gone through 4 budget cycles. And I think we got above 70% budget performance. And this year, we're expecting to get well over 70% performance. That's because if we are 61 as at October, we expect the remaining part of the year to be infrastructure heavy. Of course, if you understand how it happens is that the certificate job completion rate and then certificate rate. So we expect construction companies to speed up operations towards the end of this year, considering that we are currently in Haramain season, dry season. So we expect construction to ramp up. And for us to actually, my estimation is that we shouldn't do anything more than or anything less than 75% by the 31st of December 2025. So that is right in what we've done. And of course, in 2026, we're hoping to do way better than we have done in the past year. And what is quite important to note this year is that this year in Anambra State is an election year, right? And of course, yeah, this shows that as we have all done, we didn't stop the implementation or budget implementation didn't quite suffer because we're undergoing election. So just to say that Anambra State had continued implementation from beginning of this year up to this time, and even ready to ramp up implementation towards as the year rounds up.
So what would be the major focus for next year, seeing this almost 80% of the budget being allocated to capital expenditure?
For 2026, as well stated, so we're doing this investment. Our government has been quite heavy on infrastructure investment and human capital development, right? So where we are deepening most of it, we are building industrial cities. We're actually building 3 new cities in this year's budget. And where we are now is that we're going to do, we're currently doing the industrial park. We're speeding up the implementation, building of industrial park. And we also have 2 new cities in the pipeline for development. We have, and of course, road infrastructure remains one of the key focus of this government, considering the infrastructure deficit in the state. And human capital, we're deepening all we're doing within the human capital around education, sustaining our free education from nursery to senior secondary. We're also transforming some financial tertiary institutions from Wafori's College of Education, which is currently a college of education, is looking to be transformed to a university of education. We also, for health, we are trying to cover the loop in the health sector. While we are sustaining our free antenatal and free delivery, we also look at and upgrading our the physical infrastructure in our health facilities and equipping them. Yeah, we also we are building a nursing school that will continue to provide pipeline of human capital into the sector, into the state.
All right, Commissioner.
And also,
All right, Commissioner, thank you. We're really out of time and we still have Another conversation holding on. Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning in Anambra State, Ms. Chiamaka Nake. Thank you so much, and we certainly wish you the very best on the implementation of the next year's budget. So from tomorrow, Abuja, a federal capital territory, will be a goal with a lot of activities because the Nigeria International Air Show starts tomorrow. And we saw the minister giving us a lowdown of some of the displays that we can expect. Well, of course, this has attracted some international attention, and one of them is the Vice President of AVIC Airport Engineering Company Limited. His name is Tim Chen. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Chen, good morning. Welcome to the program. Tell us your interest in this Nigeria International Air Show.
Oh, good morning.
Yeah, so why are you interested in this air show? Why are you in Nigeria for it?
Good morning, hello?
I can hear you, Mr. Chen. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm asking why you are interested in this international air show by Nigeria.
Oh, okay. This somehow is, I'm original from aviation sectors over 20 years. So coming to Nigeria this time for this Nigeria Air Show is the first one. I think this is one of the very promising events for Nigeria aviation sector, and it's very interesting and attractive, and that's the reason I bring me here to join in the first Nigeria Air Show, NIA 25.
So what are we expecting in the area of innovations and technologies? What can we expect from your perspective?
So normally for this air show, the air show is, aviation sector is not a single technology or single unit. It's a kind of a ecosystem. So normally this air show was gathering broad and of stakeholders, and then the new technologies, solution providers, and to cover the whole sector, to bring into one place and in a particular a couple of days together. And then to making all the stakeholders were connecting each other and sharing information, and then to build up this the overall the environment ecosystem, and to exchanging all the technologies, informations, and then to grow up this sector to build up a strong foundation for the country, for the host country about that.
So from your interaction in the Nigerian aviation sector, what would you say is the most pressing challenge, and how can we overcome it?
About, let's say, in Nigeria on aviation sector, look about the challenging. The challenging is normally for aviation, what do we see? The challenging mainly coming from three perspectives. The first one is the safety, because aviation is always highest priority is the safety. The second one is when you start handling a lot of luggage, a lot of passengers and so on, the efficiency. Efficiency of the airport, of the airlines, is one of the most important things. So when we look about Nigeria, about the challenges here, one hand is the infrastructure. The infrastructure we see here, we have in Nigeria have quite some big international airports, but since a couple of decades already. So the upgrading of the infrastructure, let's say to bring first thing about the safety, especially mainly the airside things, to guarantee the international compliance, and then to maintain the safety of the flight operation is one of the major challenge. The second one is about efficiency. Now, especially with the big terminal, you're handling more and more passengers and luggage. So how to make it running fast, bring the best passenger experience, accelerating all this business process is becoming more and more a big challenge of that. And then what I know you see recently that was also announced, so the country itself was starting to making all the upgrading on the existing airport infrastructure, which I do believe this is really a very good trend and very promising to, let's say, to level up the infrastructure, both on safety and then efficiency. But from this part, one of the major challenges for here is airport is kind of operating, every day is in operation. To maintain the upgrading period, during that period, also maintain the no interruption of the current airport operation. So this will becoming one of a major challenge, I believe.
So everybody keeps saying, yeah, people keep talking about PPP, you know, having partnerships with the government and the private sector. From your view, what should be the focus at this air show when you talk about partnerships and investment opportunities?
Again, for this PPP partnership and so on, for this air show is again, aviation, we always say, is a sector. So by this air show, what I believe the country now start to delivering a message to the outside world. So aviation never a single business within a country, it's globally. So the country would deliver by this air show, deliver two things mainly. One is openness. The country is open for the global. For global aviation sectors, the stakeholders, investors, operators who come into the country on that. The second one is the country itself will deliver a strong confidence, which means it doesn't matter what infrastructure there is right now, how many airlines are operating over here, but the country deliver the confidence, then this aviation sector of Nigeria is starting to fly, to take off by implementing step by step a lot of measures.
All right, just before we go, we're almost out of time. When you look at the policy, from the policy angle, what do you think is missing, perhaps that can drive and accelerate growth in the aviation sector in Nigeria?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Policy, government policy. Is that something we're missing when it comes to government policy?
No, okay, the government policy is, again, aviation is quite international regulated business sectors. So from government side, you see worldwide aviation have under one framework, you know, from ICAO, from IATA, there were one framework. What I believe by this air show is also, like I said, open the country aviation sector to integrate it themselves into the global framework for the aviation. And this will be also demonstrating quite strong confidence. And then the openness into all the stakeholders around the world to coming in, putting focus here and to bring themselves into the country and to join in this development roadmap on the aviation sectors.
All right, thank you so much, and we wish you the very best as the event starts tomorrow. Mr. Tim Cheng, Vice President, AVKD and Airport Engineering Company Limited, thank you for your time on the program.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's do a bit of global. All right, global markets kick off the first trading week of December with investors gearing up for a packed macro and corporate calendar. It's going to be a busy week for this week, the very first one in the month of December. I guess Ladi would have to tell you the details at 1:30 during Business Incorporated. That's it on Business Morning today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Ili John Mekwa.